But anyway, well, let's get started. We may have kind of a low turnout today since we have two different things going on in parallel, which is even more productive for you guys, I would say. Right now, we have Master Smith on the other bat channel working with the higher level members. Uh, but let's start with any particular issues, problems, challenges any of you guys have had in the last week that we need to work on. I don't know what it is about this week. Everybody talks at once.
I know.
Yeah.
It's been happening a lot. Yeah. And if you are not on video, you'll need to be sure and unmute yourself before you, so we can hear you.
Yes. Yeah, we'd prefer everybody get on video here.
Oh,
and there's Master Moody.
I thought you were. I thought I was freaking out, trying to get done with the meeting with all the questions. I gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you have time. I was just going to turn it over to you in about 45 minutes. So.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah, but it's good that you're here anyway. So we'll put you to work. I opened it up for questions, and everybody stared at me mutely, except for the ones that aren't on video. So let's start with this. Krista, how's your enrollment volume for September?
Our biggest problem has been getting the enrollment conference. So once we get the enrollment conference, we have been enrolling them at nearly 100%.
Okay.
So what we're struggling with is actually getting them to commit to a conference.
Okay.
And so we've enrolled 15 people in September, which is low, but I mean, really, we just started the Elite Digital on the 11th of September. Mm-hmm. So we're there. We have a lot of people in the pipeline, but again, our biggest issue is just getting them from the 2-week trial to an enrollment conference.
Okay. Well, walk us through the process you're using to try to do that.
So we do it's all virtual. We do a one-on-one orientation virtually before we stick them into the group class, just to make sure that they're ready to go. And then we put them in the group class for their 2-week trial. And then after the second group class, we talk to them about having a follow-up about their goals and essentially tell them that we're doing a goal check, but it's an enrollment conference. And then we do the enrollment conference and sign them up.
Okay.
If we
Okay, and your problem is scheduling that conference.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we've been struggling with that.
Okay. Well, let's start with two things. Is no matter how enthusiastic any human being is about whatever it is they're involved with, nobody wants to sit down with a salesman and be pitched. Right? I mean, and so what you get a lot of times is, and I'm not picking up on the language you were using, but the process is, the idea that I'm going to schedule a time for you and we're going to sit down and go over the program and finalize everything. Well, that's kind of like, I'm in lust with the new Corvette, but I don't want to sit down and talk to a car salesman, this week, right? So it's the same kind of automatic psychological, reaction. A couple of things I didn't like, and I'm sure Master Moody picked up on it to begin with, is I didn't like I'm putting them into class to start their 2-week trial, because that really isn't the way I want them thinking about it. And I didn't like the fact that it's you're first starting to talk to them about scheduling a time after the second group class, which would then be the third class, not the second class, right? Mm-hmm. Now, my suggestion would be is you prep them for the enrollment at the first intro, okay? So you bring them in and at the first introductory class, and you can see it verbatim, although I freely admit the production quality is horrible and I should have fixed it 4 years ago and just never got on the list. But if you go to milehighkarate.com/second lesson, there's a video of me probably shot on an iPhone with bad lighting. But it's basically saying, between now and next time, think about your goals here and what you want to accomplish with this. Go through all the information that we've given you. We like the kids to memorize the student creed before the second class. That way they can earn their white belt at the first regular class. What we require next time is we require both parents to be there, or anybody involved with finances or transportation. And what we'll do if your son or daughter qualifies to enroll in the program is we'll do a thorough evaluation, review their progress, and if it's something that you want to do, go ahead and get you started in the regular program. Right, so that's more or less it. I'm truncating it, but you can see it on the video there. And there's also a sheet that we give them that goes with that. So in the virtual world, it's a sheet that you could email them as a PDF. It's a form that you could create a web page, however you wanted to do it that way. But then what I do is walk them through that sheet, right? And so we give them a class schedule, have them pick what 2 days a week they're going to go, and think about the questions that I'm asking and things I'm telling them to do are all ownership questions. What 2 days a week will you come on a regular basis? What is it you want him to accomplish from the program on a long-term basis? Think about goal setting. He's 7 now. He could be a black belt when he's 11, 10 or 11, 12, whatever. Is that something you guys would like to accomplish, right? And be sure and talk about the program between now and next time. Now, in the virtual environment, there's 2 ways to accomplish what you're doing. One is they show up at the group class and you have, let's say, program director, instructor, whoever's going to be doing what is, somebody says at the first one, and by the way, in the next class, at some point, you'll see a little thing that says, invitation to join, in a meeting room, just click accept, and I'll pull you aside, see if you have any questions and make sure everything is going well. It's hard to do that, in the group environment virtually, but we can pull out into a separate room, right? So I prep them for that. And then what you can do is exactly what you would normally do. You can pull them off into a little room early on, and you can check and see if you have both parents, if you have all the, prep and everything is ready to go. Then you can pull them out later and go ahead and just do an enrollment conference right then and there, right? If it were me, I wouldn't then, if I don't enroll them, I wouldn't then tell them we're going to come back into another group class and then we're going to schedule, what I hear as a sales conversation, right? What I would do is if you don't get the enrollment on this second class, or if they're not ready, and it's going to be virtual, let me keep that as a stipulation. If it's virtual, I would go ahead and schedule them for a short private class. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to schedule you for a third class. It's going to be, a short private class. We want to make sure anything that you weren't really clear on in the last class, any questions you have, that we do that. We require at that one both parents, anybody involved with finances, transportation, because what we're going to do is do a thorough evaluation, give you some feedback on how Billy's been doing or Susie's been doing, and then we're going to if it's what you want to do, we'll go ahead and finalize enrollment, get him started, and take care of everything, right? So in the pure virtual environment, which you're still sort of stuck in, right? And so in the pure virtual environment, we have found those 2 approaches work. Pulling them off into a separate room at the second lesson, and then just going ahead and doing the enrollment then, right? That obviously requires somebody running the class, maybe somebody facilitating the meeting room and muting all that crap, and somebody to be able to pull them out and do the conference, because you're not going to have an instructor with 32 people, pull them out. Admittedly, it's a little bit more challenging to make sure you get them into the breakout room than it would be, to go metaphorically grab them by the collar and take them in the office, right? But that's why you prep them. One of the things we'll do is you'll be in a group class, but you're not going to be there by yourself. I'll be there. I'll be giving you feedback. The way we do feedback on virtual is I pull you into a separate breakout room, and then I can give you feedback. We can talk a little bit, then we can go back into the normal class. That way we don't disturb everybody, right? And that's understandable, right? So then, and again, on the way into the class, I can bring that one, or if I had 3 intros, I can bring them all into a little breakout room, and I can kind of explain what's going on, and what the class is doing right now is they're bowing in and they're getting ready to do this and this. And what I'm going to do is have you join back in a second. But what I want to let you know is we're going to, you get the idea.
Yes.
And so, and again, the only complication is you've got to have program director, instructor. So somebody's teaching a class, somebody's doing that. I would prefer to have somebody else managing the video, right? That's one of those points that me and Master Moody may disagree on a little bit, but like what we're doing today, arguing Master Moody's a teacher, I'm a teacher, but Mindy's our video tech person, watching for people coming into the room, muting, if somebody crashes the party again, which should never happen, doing whack-a-mole and getting them out, all of that kind of stuff. Does that make sense, Kristen?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Yeah. But to reiterate for everybody, be careful about setting them up to think that what they're going to do is they're just going to come to classes for 2 weeks and then leave it open-ended on how that works, right? And it doesn't matter what the offer is, right? So the offer can be 2 lessons, it can be 2 weeks, it could be a month, it could be a guest pass, the VIP pass, it's a month, it could be a 2-month Groupon offer, 12 lesson, 18 lesson group, whatever the offer. You still want to prep them at the first lesson. That what we do is intro 1, not using that language, but your first private class, then your first semi-private class, and then we do the evaluation. If you qualify, we go ahead and finalize your enrollment, right? The longer the introductory offer, and I don't consider 2 weeks to be a concern, but the longer the introductory offer, the more you have to incentivize them, right? So, I'm glad that you paid, for the Groupon offer for 2 months. If we go ahead and finalize the enrollment next time, what we do is we give you a $400 discount on the initial enrollment. You still get the 2 months free added to the program, right? So you're giving them leverage, to do that. And that's why I also like the presentation of, it's normally $800 to enroll. If you finalize your enrollment today, it's a $400 discount. But the first lesson, I'm not saying the 800, I'm just saying we give you a $400 discount to finalize your enrollment next time and give you the time that you already paid for. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because otherwise the language sets them up for, well, it hasn't been 2 weeks yet. And I was having this conversation with somebody last week, and they were fixated on the 2 week free offer. And I have never, to my recollection, having done thousands of these, ever had somebody say, well, I haven't had my 2 weeks yet. Now, I have had them say, I haven't had my 3 months, I haven't had my 2 months, I haven't had my month, right? But with a 2 week offer, it's not long enough. I've never seen that get in the way. And if it does, you say, well, you're still getting the 2 weeks free, and we're going to give you an additional $400 discount. And it's good to go. Good. Anything to add to that, Masterman?
Well, I think I would be even more vehement that it's dangerous. It's completely dangerous to ever have anybody execute a short-term program or any intro program. It's absolutely dangerous. Your conversion rates are going to be very, very low.
Explain what you mean by that.
Well, it's dangerous because, if you let them do a 2 week or let them do a 1 month or let them do whatever the initial offer is, rather than do some sort of reason for them to do a real program, that your basic program or your 12-month program or whatever that is, then you're going to have drop off in that first time. And sometimes what we have is people talk to us and say, oh, but I don't get much, I get 100% of people after their 2 weeks to enroll. Well, yeah, that's because whoever was left after the 2 weeks enrolls.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what you're saying, isn't it? That the ones who were left over after the time do enroll.
She was just saying they're having a hard time getting the scheduling down to get that to get that to happen. But
yeah, it's the danger is it ends up being and it's more work too, by the way. It's a lot more work. Now I've got to try to keep track of these 2 week people and the 1 month people and the Groupon people and whoever it is and which ones are which and when do I pull the trigger on enrolling them, and
Yeah,
Also,
and not for anybody to get the wrong idea. It's certainly true that your conversion rate at the second should be 75, 80%, sometimes even better, right? So that does leave another 25% who didn't enroll then. So I'm still going to, for those who didn't enroll then, I'm going to schedule them for another lesson, and I'm going to, keep following up from there. Every additional lesson is going to be by appointment. And if somebody comes in for a 2-month Groupon offer or 1-month charitable fundraiser or whatever, we're certainly always going to honor that. We're just going to expect that anybody who enrolls is going to enroll after the second lesson, right? So it's not like it's bait and switch. They certainly can. But the logic is, which is completely true, is, Ms. Jones, obviously the reason you came in for the 2-month Groupon offer is not to do 2 months of karate classes. That'd be kind of silly to just do that, but to check with and see if Billy, if this is a good fit for him, if you like us, if you like the program, if you see benefit for him and your family. Wouldn't you agree? Well, sure. Well, what we found with, essentially every kid is after 2 lessons, and for you, we're just going to load you up with information about what's going on here. 2 lessons is usually the point at which people know it's a good fit or it's not a good fit. So therefore, we go ahead and do the evaluation, finalize the enrollment then, and there is a significant discount for going ahead and applying the Groupon offer to the enrollment, right? I mean, it's a simple explanation. And by the way, all of the sales techniques, everything that we ever use, all have the benefit of being true, right? If I was saying something to them that's a complete lie, if the reality was most students knew a lot better whether they wanted to do this or not after coming for 2 lessons, aimless, for 2 months aimlessly, no goals yet, no real clarity on what happens beyond that, then I'd be lying to them, but I'm not, right? We all know, second or third lesson, they're almost always, it's either for them or it's not for them, right? So they're good to go. And we also know that every lesson that goes beyond that is less likely, just because they're, they don't know what their direction is, what they're trying to accomplish. You haven't really gotten the goal setting down. You haven't really gotten all the other pieces down.
One thing that you said, Master Oliver, is they save $400 if they finalize the enrollment today. That's a key point. Where that breaks down for a lot of people is the conversation ends up being, well, gee, can I do my 2 weeks and then, at the end do it? Or can I let you know tomorrow or the next day? No, if you want to save the $400, you can finalize it today. And you've got to get them to the point where the enrollment was strong enough in the first place that they're comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they can decide to save the money later, then why don't they'll always decide later.
Yeah. Well, if can't I just do the 1 month and then roll at the end of the month? Sure. The reality though is I'm sure you have enough exposure to this to know whether you're comfortable or not, whether he likes it. He seems to be doing a great job. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah. The only way we can extend that $400 discount for coming in from, is if you go ahead and finalize that today. So I hate to see you pay another $400 and, wait for, I don't know what it would be waiting for. And then of course we can always go back to, again, some kind of risk reversal if they're just not comfortable. Well, I just don't want to sign him up for a year. Their language, not mine. Sign him up for a year right now after he's only done 2 lessons. Oh, okay. Well, what specifically are you concerned about? Well, he drops out of everything. Okay. Well, when did you want that to change? Well, what do you mean? Well, the whole point of martial arts is short-term, intermediate, long-term goals. It's incremental, rewards and progress. The whole point of the program is to teach a child how to set goals, follow through. You certainly don't want, your child to be dropping out of everything when they're, in high school or, college or God forbid in their career. You gotta teach them really how to set a goal and follow through with that. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah. And so that's what this does. And then the other fallback is, of course, I like, what we started calling the gold belt guarantee is I'll use the ID card. Well, let me explain how the program works. Let me suggest this. It typically takes a couple of months to get to, and if it was a 2-month offer or 1 month offer, this ties in nicely with it. It typically takes 16 lessons We do 2 lessons a week. I'll be using the card. Why don't we do this? Why don't we get Billy to Gold Belt? That's the 16 lessons. And I'm sure you would agree that after 16 or more lessons, after a couple months, or it's actually going to be, the next test is going to be December 9th. I'm making that up, but December 9th. I'm sure by then you'd have a really good feeling about whether this is going to be a good, good fit and a good follow through or not. Oh yeah, sure. Well, why don't we do that? Why don't we go ahead and get him started? And if when he gets his Gold Belt, you're not 100% sold on him following through, we can just cancel the program at that point. So that's what I would call a Gold Belt guarantee. So it's basically, it's taking the 12-month commitment and it's giving them, to their first belt, not until their first belt, at their first belt, the opportunity to back out if they're not comfortable. And it's a good closing tool for like 5% of them that just, you get stuck on that. Any questions or thoughts on that so far? We have a Gabby group today. Go ahead.
I have a question kind of on the follow-up portion.
Yeah.
With our new CRM software, we're setting up automated text messages for like the first 12 weeks. And mainly just so I don't drop anybody or let them fall through the cracks. I just want to know what you think about the automated approach for the texts and emails and stuff, or if it should be more phone calls.
Well, let's start with context, right? From the standpoint of thinking that a CRM automated broadcast voicemail, text message, email, overlay direct mail, thinking that replaces human connection and personal contact it doesn't, right? And, I could make an argument that, I wrote a book on internet marketing in 1999. And, back then there was one was Blue, I forget the name of the company. There was a company here in Boulder, Colorado that sold AOL for like, I don't know, some ridiculous amount of money, $100 million. But what they did is they did automated birthday cards. And you may remember, you may be too young to remember this, but somebody, the system would automatically send you a birthday card and you click the link and there's a dancing cow or a singing chicken or, one thing or another all in Flash. And it was, one thing or another. And it was really cool for about 18 months until everybody realized there wasn't a human being on the other end of the deal, right? And then all of those investments of 80 million or 100 million all became worthless because what seemed like a cool idea and trendy for a while wasn't, right? And, we really are at the point where people are just over email, it used to be, go back to the movie, You've Got Mail, and they're sitting there waiting for AOL to pop up or CompuServe, whichever it was, to pop up the mailbox thing. Now, if somebody emails me something, they have to call or text me to tell me, that they emailed me to go look at it, right? So part of it is that. Part of it is digital overload, no expectation that another human being was on the other side of it, right? Like I've got a box of these cards here. A little personal card, handwritten, is worth 100 different texts and emails and all of the automated stuff, right? So if there is educational content that you want them to be dripped on, then dripping on them with educational content by, welcome to the school for your first week, watch this video, and it gives them a link to, the school website or gives them a link to a YouTube page. That's useful, okay? But to think that people aren't going to fall through the cracks because you're texting and emailing them, misses the point. The only way they're not going to fall through the cracks is that that they're on, they're supposed to be on Monday and Wednesday, that they're on Monday and Wednesday, physically in person and non-coronavirus thing. Our rule was touch them 3 times and use their name 3 times and make eye contact 3 times and greet them within 3 feet of the door, right? I mean, silly rule of 3s, but just to remember that you wanted to do all those things. By video, it becomes a little bit more difficult. And when everybody's squeamish about being within 6 feet of each other, it becomes a little bit more difficult. But you've got to get that same thing, right? You've got to get it where the instructor and the program director recognize them, know things about them, bring those items up. You know, and everybody has their own thing they remember. I read a lot. So, you know, if I walk through a school and, you know, two parents have books in their hands, I notice the books and I strike up a conversation about the book. And when they come in next time, I ask them how they're, you know, a lot of times, you know, like with the moms, it might be some big fiction thing, or it might be work stuff, right? But if it was some fictional book, I'd say, well, what do you think of that new Danielle Steele novel? Oh, are you a fan of Danielle Steele? No, not at all. I just thought I'd get your feedback on how your book is. Well, I just started it. So, you know, if I ask a week later, well, so how's that, whatever it was called, coming? They go, oh, well, it's really good, or it was so crappy, I, you know, threw that one away and got distracted with something else. But see, that's the type of thing that ends up sparking a human connection. So as much as I like software and automated stuff, from the standpoint of really having somebody, one, not fall through the cracks, so that's the word you used, and two is having them feel welcomed and so forth, it doesn't do much for that. It is good for putting educational material in front of them. And again, I would argue, you know, the likelihood of them even seeing a series of emails is so low anymore, you know, between deliverability problems, spam folder problems, and them just, you know, getting lost in the rush, that if you email somebody something, I would also text it to them, right? So, you know, what you can do with both good CRM systems, God, the smoke. Those of you in California have been sharing your smoke with Colorado, plus we're generating our own fires. So it's been interesting to breathe at 8,000 foot elevation with the smoke last month or so. But does that give you some thoughts, right? And again, I've seen, you know, and I designed one of them years ago. You know, you have this elaborate software system, and if they don't get checked in on the Tuesday class, it sends them an email, hey, we've missed you in class. Well, you know, 10 years ago, that was cool, and today it doesn't mean anything, right? So you really have to have that personal touch.
Sure. Yeah, I have it. I have it set up with just after 2 weeks. Hey, this is Aaron with Hive Martial Arts. Just checking in. How you liking everything? Any questions so far? So, and then I can have a real conversation with them through the software or in person afterwards. I just, especially with COVID, that follow up after the first week or so just sort of dropped off for me. So, yeah, no, this makes sense. I like the educational stuff for the text.
Yeah. You know, an expanded point from that, it's not what you asked, but I keep seeing both management problems, owner of the school dealing with employees, and teacher-student problems happening because of, you know, I'm not sure it's still in vogue, but the, you know, asynchronous communication, right? So we're communicating on Facebook Messenger, we're communicating by email, we're communicating by text. And all asynchronous communication lacks context, voice tone, body language, and even the iterative of clarifying it, you know, gets in the way of communication rather than facilitate, right? So, you know, if I have somebody who needs to share a document with me that doesn't require any explanation, that's fine. But when a student is having a problem, when there's a conversation about the program, you know, I was having one of our members communicate with me about like this conversation with their staff. But what it was is they were, you know, sending me the text message dialogue back and forth. And it's like, well, did you pick up the phone and just talk to them? Well, we've been talking. No, that's not, you know, that's not it. I mean, you know, text me, you know, the movie time and the, you know, Google Maps link for, you know, for meeting up, but don't try to have a, you know, anything like a serious conversation by text. And it's the easiest way for people to misunderstand. I don't know how many conversations I've had where what I meant was this and what was interpreted was this, and it was completely 180 degrees. Um, so, you've got to be aware of that. Again, it's not the question you were asking, but it's something we encounter a lot. This student sent me an email. How do I respond? Well, you pick up the phone and call them. Well, what should the email say? I'm available at this time or this time or this time at this phone number. Give me a call. We'll discuss it. Well, yeah, but I haven't answered their question. Exactly. Right. It's again, what's the CRM that you're setting up?
It's called High Level. It's primarily for our Facebook ads, but we found that it works way better than a lot of the martial arts software we've used.
Yeah, it's not a very high bar.
No.
Yeah. It's called High Level.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't interacted with that one. What's it called? Mindy, do you remember? The Elite Digital has been utilizing a kind of a slimmed down CRM for follow-up that does all the things that you talked about. I don't remember the name of that one. We use one in the back end called Infusionsoft, which frankly I don't recommend. Not because it's not extremely powerful and does a lot of things. It's just all of our staff have always dubbed it Confusionsoft. It's so powerful potentially that it's a bear to get it to actually perform in a simple way. Are you using Schedule Once?
We're not, because it can do the same stuff through High Level. As soon as we set the appointment, it does the automated text, and then we also follow up with a call.
Okay. You may well be completely right. I've heard a lot of people say that, and then the reality was that wasn't the reality. And again, I don't have any vested interest in Schedule Once. There's another app called Calendary that does some of that same stuff. There's a bunch of them. But yeah, as long as you're getting the sequential text and the sequential emails. We've been usually recommending, Constant Contact, MailChimp, or Aweber combined with Call Loop. And Call Loop can do text and voicemail, and then those obviously do email, and they'll talk to each other adequately to be able to kick those things off. And one of the things, the language of what you're talking about with the CRM is sequential autoresponder, right? So the day I enroll somebody, I can have 16 pieces or 18 pieces that automatically go out.
Yeah. And Master Oliver,
Yeah.
anyone that doesn't know Zapier,
Yeah.
you must know this thing. Zapier, literally,
Zapier's useful if you've got another CRM system.
but it actually will integrate with pretty much anything that you have. So like if one trigger, so like a lead drops, it will automatically, then you can connect it to Call Loop, then you can connect it to all of those. It will, if you zap it right, you can instead of webhooks and all the, coding and crap, it's like coding for dummies, because you don't have to code. You say, when this happens, then this will happen. So you can automate a lot of your stuff.
Yeah, well, to explain what Zapier is like I just said, that Call Loop and Aweber, for instance, will communicate with each other. Aweber and Call Loop will communicate with each other without needing Zapier. What Zapier is called middleware. So it's a software package that goes between this CRM and this whatever it might be. I'm trying to remember where we use Zapier. Every now and then we have a software package that doesn't have.
You can use
an
API.
API.
You can use it with Infusion, and you connect other stuff up.
Yeah.
Actually, Master Oliver, what I would say in this whole discussion is use the stuff that you've got. Your school's not going to be massively. The income in your school is going to be more impacted by your labor directly with people than by spending a lot of time over automating things.
Yeah.
And buying simple software Like, that's why we often just tell people just get scheduled once. And, you know, like, I think Aaron's saying, yeah, it does it. Okay, fine. But if it doesn't do day before, day of, and immediately call and text, you know, we just probably tell you just get scheduled once, because it's like $15 and it's cheap. So
Yeah.
it's spend less time on your automation and programming stuff. Outsource it or buy it off the shelf. Outsource and buy it off the shelf. And the more time we spend on this is a good example of wasted time that won't help you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I know Alexi's talking about Zapier, but I wouldn't recommend spending a lot of time automating a whole bunch of stuff and doing that, because then something changes, then you got to go change a whole bunch of stuff. And we're very familiar with it and use it a lot. So,
Well, and again, and you said it right. This other CRM works much better than any of the, you know, the martial arts software packages that try to integrate everything. And my snarky response was, that's not a very high bar. But most of the martial arts software packages lack what's called an AP bridge. So they make it difficult to kick off an action in somewhere else. But let's expand on what Master Moody said. There's a great Harvard Business Review article, and it's really old at this point. And it spawned a book called Reengineering the Corporation, which spawned a big corporate re-engineering craze, and then spawned a whole backlash of idiots against quote unquote re-engineering, saying it was just a corporate excuse to get rid of people. Well, yeah, every corporation should have as few people on the payroll as humanly possible to accomplish what they need to do, you know, except for what bench strength they need in case somebody gets hit by a truck or leaves tomorrow. But the article was called Don't Automate, Obliterate. And it was talking about the misuse of computer technology and software as it came in, because what companies would do is they'd take whatever their manual system was and they'd try to just shove it in the computer, and without rethinking it. And there was a great example of Ford Motor Company, who at the time was trying to simplify their payables department. And they had at the time something like 450 or 500 people in their payables department, and they thought if they could automate things, they could get it down to like 50. And then they went and looked at Mazda, who had like 5 people in their payables. Now, Ford was a lot bigger company than Mazda, but extrapolate, that's 15 people, and they were hoping to get it to 200, right? Well, it turns out that the difference wasn't in software and it wasn't in the computer. It's just that Mazda had a smarter methodology that they used that required fewer steps, fewer things got lost, and so forth. That article I've posted in our Facebook group for everybody. But the takeaway is, if you look at running a martial arts school, is, you know, anyone who asks me about software, my first question is what are you trying to accomplish? And usually they say, well, you know, to automate things. So, well, what are you trying to automate specifically? Well, I don't know, all of our stuff. Okay, well, what stuff specifically? What are you trying to accomplish? And usually they don't really know, right? But let's think of different types of things you can do with software and whether you should or shouldn't do it. So one thing that you can do with software is you can get, you know, QuickBooks with a cash register, and you can get a iPad up front, and you can have a really automated cashier, computerized with a cash drawer and all that stuff up front. So you can really keep track of all your pro shop stuff, and you can tag into it inventory management, so that every time you buy hand pads or software or rash guards or whatever the hell you want to stock, you go count them into the software and you update it, and it's supposed to keep a perfect inventory system. So now you're a mini version of Walmart. I have always found that the dumbest ass thing that you can do, right? You know, I had all of that automated, and the numbers in the machine were never matched what the numbers were on the shelf. And what we shifted back to, after I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and thousands of hours of not me doing the programming, but design and working with programmers and stuff, is we shifted back to what I call a PAR system. I mean, it's a common term, but, you know, size 0 uniforms, we want to have 10 in stock. Size 1 uniforms, we want to have 15 in stock. Size 3 uniforms, we want to have 15 in stock. And so, and then every Friday we go count how many we have in stock. We're missing 3, and we'd order that on Friday, and on Monday, Century would drop a box in on the thing, and we're fine, right? So now we got rid of point of sale, we got rid of inventory, and we can have a little journal that, and then I said, well, okay, so really what we're trying to do is keep track of cash. Well, why do I want to keep track of cash? Well, I have this pro shop. Okay, but every year I lose money on the pro shop. Why don't I just get rid of the pro shop? And so I bugged Century forever, and finally them and somebody else did you can set the software up on the website, the students go buy their own crap, it drop ships it to them, and I never have to touch it. Well, now I'm happy as a clam, right? I'm not thinking I'm making money on retail because I know I'm losing money on retail. The only time I ever made money on retail is when I had some big event like the tournament and I could sell like 1,000 t-shirts in one day, right? But other than that, get it to go away. So I don't want inventory management. I don't want to have to particularly keep track of cash. So if really the primary cash coming into the school is nowadays credit cards, it used to be checking credit cards, but hardly anybody writes a check anymore, right? So it's credit cards, so it's going to the machine, so I can just batch it out at the end of the night. I know how much came in. For every enrollment, I have a contract. For every renewal, I have a contract. Now, what do I need automation for so far, right? And then people say, well, I want to keep track of my students. Well, that's why we have the stupid ID card, right? So you have a little ID card, and they come to class twice a week, and you have an A side and a B side, or a 1 side and a 2 side. Master Smith wants to call it now, whatever. But the cards all start on the left side of the box. Beginning of the week, they pull their cards and they put it on the other side. Oh, well, we're doing Zoom classes now. Okay, so the instructor pulls ID cards for everybody who's in class, marks their ID card, keeps track of it, puts it on the B side. What do I need to enter in the computer about student attendance? Nothing, right? Oh, I need it for belt orders. Well, on the ID card, I write size 0, size 1. The ID cards are all coded by rank. I've got a test every other month because we're on a rotating curriculum. 2 weeks out, I have somebody go through all the ID card boxes, order a belt for everybody, and then and actually they can do a belt order for everybody, and they can go look in our, our stack of, inventory and take out the ones that we already have and order the difference. Okay, I don't need to keep track of that, right? Because automating it is going to be more of a pain in my butt than, doing it manually. So what do I really need to automate? Well, schedule once, I make an appointment with somebody, they get 3 or 4 emails, they get 3 or 4 texts, it reminds them to show up, they can reschedule their own appointment. Well, that's really useful because it enhances, not replaces my calling to confirm people, right? So that one piece, I definitely, software helps, and it'll automatically update Google Calendar or iCal or whatever. And if you have 4 people on staff, they're all synced with the same calendar. So I can pull up my iPhone this morning and figure out what's going on tonight, all that stuff, right? What else do I need software for? Well, somebody opts in from a Facebook ad, or somebody opts in from the website. I'd like it to be what you just said, is sequential autoresponder, series of text messages, series of emails, series of automated voicemails, series of direct mail. You didn't mention that, but these good systems can queue, and that's what we use Zapier for. I think we've got a direct mail house that we can integrate their software with Infusion, and they'll automatically kick off postcards. So now I've got two things. They make an appointment, I want to remind them, and they opt in, and I haven't made an appointment yet. I want to drip on them forever until I get an appointment. But even on that one, the most important piece is a human being calls them within 30 seconds while they're still looking at the website. And even with Schedule Once, the most important component is before they come in for the first, I'm calling the day before, I'm calling the day of to get hold of them to confirm it, right? And then the question is, what else do I need to automate? And am I missing something, Master Moody? Is there something else that
Well, you listed a lot of stuff, and some of that stuff you don't even want to automate for certain reasons. But again, it's a personal business, and there's the other flip side of it. And you're talking to two of the most geeky, technical people that are in the martial arts industry that would, run the thing by computer if we could.
Oh yeah, with no humans, by the way.
Because here's the other thing: the computer can break. For example, I had one of my guys say, well, why don't we just have an iPad at the movie theater event so we can just type all the stuff in, at the movie theater events, it goes directly into the database. Can't you do that? Yeah, we can do that. But then the iPad can break and it takes a little longer. And there's a variety of reasons why.
Or the internet connection doesn't work.
There's a variety of reasons why you do not want to depend on technology to do this stuff. And the non-technological solutions work better.
Yeah.
So, we get asked these questions all the time. There are certain things you want to automate. There's a lot of things you don't. The automated, the reason we really are hard over on the automated reminders for appointments is because we know you're probably not going to do all those. And frankly, I wouldn't either. I mean, that's not a slam on anybody, but you should be doing those on a regular basis.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, so I would say less is more.
The other, and obviously I haven't gotten to, you're doing your accounting, one thing or another, a software app like QuickBooks Online is wonderful, unless you're using an accountant that does it every month. And you all should be having an accountant that's looking over it every month and be using, like my accountant does every month, but he uses QuickBooks Online. So QuickBooks Online will update everything, and then they can tune and tweak it at their office, whatever the hell they do. But yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff is, and by the way, the thing you'll hear from us constantly and repetitiously, pretty much every other word, when Jeff Smith speaks, it's stripes or stats, stripes, stats. But it's so important to know your numbers. And anyone that we deal with who gives us the Rainmaker printout or the whatever other software printout, almost always they don't know what's going on in their school. And almost always the numbers the computer spits out are wrong, right? Nothing replaces, you have a clipboard on the desk. At the end of the night, we all get together in a little huddle. What happened? We had 3 appointments. Let's talk about this one. Let's talk about this one. Let's talk about this one. These 2 were first intros. Are they scheduled for their second? Great. When? This one was a second. Are they enrolled? Yes, no. If not, when are they coming back? You get all the humans together and they have that conversation. But at the same time, how many new leads do we have today? How many appointments do we get? How many first intros do we have? How many second intros? And you can put it on a whiteboard. You can put it on a piece of paper on the clipboard. Then if you want, fine, put it in an Excel spreadsheet or wherever else you want to have it. But nothing replaces the staff having that conversation, knowing what happened today, discussing where you're at month to date, discussing where your goals are for the month, and really focusing in on it that way as well. So, and that's the other thing. Everybody's like, well, the computer keeps my stats. Well, what do you mean it keeps your stats? Well, usually it's like, well, it keeps all our attendance tracking, and it, tells me our lead flow and stuff. And
yeah, but if you're not looking at that every day, Master Oliver, if people aren't looking at that every day and know exactly where they are every day, they've lost control of their business. It should be. That's why I don't do that manually. It's easy to do that in Google Docs or have some kind of automated system doing that. But the guys have to close out the day, write down how many students did this, write down what they made every day. They have to write that down. If you entered it into Google Docs as a separate thing, that would be okay with me. I don't do that, but it would be okay. But you have to know what you're doing every day. And guys, if you don't know what you're doing every day, we're in the beginner group here. If you don't know that, then that's really step one. You guys are asking a lot of really good questions. Yeah. Truthfully, that's step one to fixing the problems that you might have.
Yeah. But and again, none of that's meant to beat you up for that question about automating things. It's what I do want to do is, and this brings us back to the initial getting the students started. The corporate term might be onboarding, right? But getting the students started. We're always doing lesson 1, lesson 2, enroll at lesson 2 if at all possible, if not lesson 3. But then we're scheduling them for, what Master Smith calls a folder conference, but a chance to go through the character development lessons, the ID card, the progress, to go back to isolating faces for the renewal, etc. But then in anchor this in, because I say it over and over and over again, hardly anybody does it, is instead of just throwing them over the fence metaphorically into class and having them going twice a week, and then in 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, a program director pulls them back out and tries to pitch them on the renewal. Okay, that just doesn't work. What I prefer it to be is I'm scheduling you by appointment. Now you guys are coming Monday and Wednesday. Now for the technology, I can put them in an appointment on schedule once. It's reminding them all that stuff. But every time they're in, I'm greeting them at the door, or I'm greeting them on the video. I'm pulling them in a breakout room, or I'm pulling them off to the side and doing a mat chat. I have a sequence that I'm touching base and building relationship and building rapport with them, right? And then it's really, and the way that I've come across it as the metaphor is it's an 8 to 16 lesson intro into your leadership program. The Tracy schools, they used to do a lot of the Kimpo schools. What they would do is they would do like an 8 lesson introductory program, and they'd all be private before they actually enrolled you into the program. That was always a bad idea because it elongated the process. However, it's a brilliant idea if I bring you in, I enroll you on a trial enrollment, I spend the next 8 to 16 lessons evaluating, educating, building relationship, and then I use that to move you into our black belt training, into the leadership program or into the black belt program. Then it's a brilliant strategy. And I'm not talking about their private, but each time you're bringing the new people together, you're doing a little huddle, you're touching base with the parents, and that way, again, much more so than a series of text messages and emails, they really feel like they haven't gotten lost in the shuffle. On that note, Master Moody, I'm going to have to turn them over to you.
Okay.
Because I'm supposed to be in the other room in about 4.2 seconds here. I wasn't in a big rush because I know Master Smith will, talk 15 minutes over his allotted time and blame you for it.
Don't have to say anymore. All right, guys. So
they blamed you yesterday. He finished at 11 minutes late and blamed you because you didn't let him start on time. So he was exactly 1 hour on time because he started 11 minutes late.
He did, huh? Okay. Well, we can check the recording on that.
Yeah, just as an update.
All right.
Mindy, you are the moderator, are you not?
Correct, sir.
Okay. So I'm not going to dump everybody out as I leave.
Not at
Thanks,
all.
guys.
For checking that. All right, guys. So we got about a half hour. I want to know, what do we got going on? We did talk about enrollments. What we need to be thinking about for October is really getting a big lead flow in as well. We covered a lot of things. What kind of things are you guys doing for getting members in? There should be at least 20 things going on in your school. If you don't have that list going, and one thing I'd point out is a lot of you guys aren't asking questions during a big group meetings. I guess that means you've got it all figured out and you've got your 20 things on your list, right? If you're not asking questions, that means you got a ton of leads and you got a ton of members. That'd be true.
We're using, sorry.
Go ahead. What are you doing?
We're using the self-control worksheet this month that's in the Facebook group.
Okay.
So everybody that turns it in by a certain date, we're doing our pizza party giveaways for up to 9 people so we can do social distancing. And that has worked really well. It's only been out in the email for a day, and we've got 2 in person and like 4 sheets emailed in. And so we're actually running out of pizza party time because so many of the kids are excited for just a free little thing with their friends.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Everybody should be copying that right now. No reason not to do that. That would be an immediate yes. So that's, you can double up. Why are you running out of pizza party times?
Just with how late our Saturday classes go, and our Saturdays, we have a tough time getting people in on Saturdays. So we have to kind of schedule around their swimming lessons and hockey season and all that stuff.
Oh, you mean in terms of getting the pizza party to go on Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay. You can do them on Friday too. And you can do, now for social distancing, that can be a problem. You could also take the option of doing your a pizza party in the park. That's not as good because you'd rather have them in the school, so the parents have to be in the school, but the pizza party could be in the park so that then you could do it, sooner. The one thing about dragging the pizza parties out is it's different from a birthday party. If the birthday party is scheduled, I sneeze here, and it's, excuse me, I apologize, hope that wasn't too loud. But if the birthday party's in December, well, you can't move it up and the excitement's going to be in December. But if they got a thing for a pizza party and they're excited about it, I want to get the pizza party done as soon as possible. Because that, it was a big deal now, but maybe by like November, it won't be as big a deal for them and they'll find other crap to do. So if I can push that earlier, it can, maybe you can't. So it's okay if you can, but I think of other creative options. Or Friday could be regular class at the park and the pizza party could be at the school. See what I mean? So you can be kind of creative and make it, an exciting thing for the school. And then if the pizza party blows up and nobody shows up, well, then what the hell? You still did a class in the park for the rest of your students. So there's some creative ideas. Or you can we've done those parties on Sundays. Sometimes people think, oh, you do it on Sunday? That'd be great because maybe they've got a reason why all those people like to get together on Sundays. So there's some other options for you. Now, I'm not saying you guys all have to work on Sundays. That may be a drag, but I don't know if I'm going to get, 9 people showing up and, they're going to fill it up and they're excited about it. I might show up. Now, here's the thing with pizza parties, birthday parties and stuff. What were you going to do when you did the pizza party? So the pizza party happens. How are you going to turn that into members? 9 people show up. How are you going to make those members?
Well, that was going to be my next question. We do a winter carnival event every January, and it's been really hard to turn that into people. Super successful in the sense that we get 40 or 50 leads out of it, but then we don't get much in the way of actual return.
Yeah, so everybody here needs to think about leads are, from 20 years ago. We don't care about leads, we care about appointments.
Yeah.
Now, that's a little bit overstated because, obviously from Facebook marketing or your website or something, you're getting leads and you have to turn those into appointments. But those are a little bit different because those people were asking for information, asking for lessons, getting free lessons or something. In these cases, at a festival, at a birthday party, at a pizza party, people are there for the other thing. So it's even more important that we get appointments, not leads. And you should be getting 90% or better appointment rate at these things. So how do you do that? And some of you guys have heard us talk about that. The best thing to do is look at 2 things in our resource list on the Facebook page. You can find it if you look up birthday party. You'll see a PowerPoint. I did one on birthday parties, and there's a big long PowerPoint, and there's just a couple simple scripts in there. And I'll mention them in a second. The other one that you should look at is that relates to this, and they're both very similar scripts. It's movie promotions. I think it's movie promotions. And look up that script. There's revision 3 on that, and that's in the Facebook group. Both of those are in the Facebook group. So with any of these, what happens is somebody's there at the thing. Let's just make it really generic because you might have somebody's doing a ninja thing at a school, somebody's doing a thing at a whatever, and you're at a place where you've got something going on. So let's make it really generic. You're somewhere where there's people and they're there for something else. Somebody's pizza party, somebody's birthday party, you're there at a movie theater and you've got a spin wheel. You're there for something. And what you want to do is get people for some reason to come to you, and then you ask them for they get something. They get 2 weeks free, or they get 2 weeks free in a uniform. They want a prize on the spin wheel, something happened, and you ask them for, you tell them, okay, great. So I just need some information to send you the information. What's your name, phone, email? You get that. So that's lead, right? The next part is most of the people are setting their appointment Monday at 5 or 7. Which one's better for you? Now, 75% of people are going to say, oh, I don't know my calendar, blah, 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 blah. And that's where most people give up and don't do the right thing. So the right thing is you say, that's okay, I'll just pencil in a time, and then you can get back to me if it doesn't work. Now that script that I just gave you is on the movie promotion one. And we have 12-year-olds get 95% appointment rates with about a half-hour training. Now I said a half-hour training. The biggest issue we usually have with you guys, not to give you a hard time, is when I tell you that and you get the script, you look at it and you read it in your head, and then you put it down and you go, okay, I got it. And you go there and it all blows up. And then you come back and say that didn't work. What we did with the 12-year-old was we did a half-hour training. We set up a table and we set up a spin wheel in the school, and we actually role played that script out loud for a half hour. Then they got 95% appointment rate. I would expect you guys would do better than that, but you got to say it out loud. And if you're a one-person show, you say it to the mirror and you say, oh, I need your information so I can send you the info. Now, most people are setting up their time Monday at 5 or 7. Which one's best for you? Well, that's okay. We can just pencil in a time, and that way you can get back to us if it doesn't work out. And you literally say that out loud to the mirror if you need to. Better if you have somebody to work with so they can do the appointments as well for a half hour. And you do that so you learn it. Okay, just like you would do your martial arts. Okay, if you're going to practice something, you wouldn't tell your students, look, just read the list of materials. Read the form. If you do martial arts forms, just read the form and then go compete in a tournament. How about that? But that's what we do a lot of times with these business scripts. So that will just kill Aaron. That'll be awesome. So when they come in, now let's specifically address a pizza or a birthday party. So for pizza birthday parties, and by the way, birthday parties will work great for you guys too. You just have to know what students have birthday parties in October, November, December, and call your students that have or past students that have birthday parties in November, December, October. Call them all and say, hey, normally it's $250 for a birthday party, but this month we're doing a special because we do have a couple slots open for $99, and you can bring unlimited friends for a birthday party. So you can add that onto your list. So how do you make the birthday party work? Again, look at the PowerPoint because there's a few more details, but it works the same way. Everybody has to check in before they can enter the school. They have to fill out the guest roster because you need to for safety and liability purposes. And you ask them for the appointment. Well, you get 2 weeks of karate free as a gift from Johnny, the birthday boy. Not from you, but because it's a gift from Johnny. Most of the parents are setting up their time for their first class, Monday at 5 or 7. Which one's better for you? Oh, I know you don't have your calendar and it's in your pocket and you have to go do a seance before you can figure your time out. That's why let's pencil in a time, and you can just get back to us if it doesn't work out. And then you put it in schedule once and they immediately get an email and text, and they get one the day before and the day of. And when they exit, we're also going to confirm it. Now, what will happen at a birthday party is, the great thing is they're required to check out and sign their kid out. If anybody doesn't set the appointment on the way in, we also ask them on the way out. So if they say, if you do all that and they still don't set an appointment, you go, no problem. We'll just set up a time. You check your schedule during the party, and then we'll figure out a time when you leave. Now, I've already got permission that it's okay to bug them again. So you're not being a jerk by asking them again. And we'll even do extra credit, and during the party, during the cake or whatever, we'll ask them. So in your case, during the pizza, we'll take the clipboard and walk around, and whoever we haven't set appointments with, we'll ask them again. And whoever set an appointment will confirm the appointment. Well, we're really looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Make sense? Does that help a little, Aaron?
Yeah, helps a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, the stupid people, what they do is they do a birthday party, and there was even one consultant telling people, oh, we do great with birthday parties. we hand out flyers. You don't want to pressure people at birthday parties. Well, that's just the stupidest thing you could ever do. Whenever you think of doing something that you just hand out material, you're typically going to get a response rate of about 0.05%. That's a general rule. So that means you have to hand out 2,000 pieces of flyers or cards or material to get one response. So you can make your school work just by handing flyers out if you want. You can walk out your school door, handing out flyers. So none of you should ever tell us you don't know what to do. You can hand out flyers. It would just need to be like 50,000 flyers. Okay? So when you're doing some event like this and you think, oh, well, I don't want to be pressuring people. I just want to hand out flyers to them. And there's 9 kids. Well, how many damn birthday parties and pizza parties do you have to do? Like about 1 billion of them, right? It would work, but it's a numbers game. It won't really be effective. So what you have to think about is, if I've got somebody in front of me, anybody in front of me, I have to set an appointment. Now, the flip side of that is when you're doing events where you only have kids, you can't set appointments, right? That's why our process is to get permission slips from the parents ahead of time so that we can call them and get and ask them for an appointment either before or after whatever event we're doing. Okay, so that's something you guys should also have on your list right now, is you should be looking for things that you can do with schools. That is very productive. And let me give you a quick script on that that'll help you out. So a lot of you might be thinking, well, gee, I've talked to the schools, or I can't even find their PTO meetings, or 15 different reasons. And reasons why you can't do something equals excuse. And I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but that's what it is, right? So you've got reasons why you can't do stuff, reasons why the school thing won't work. Well, here's what some schools might say. Well, we're not doing anything right now because of coronavirus, blah, 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 blah. Here's your answer. You might want to write it down. Here's your answer. Oh, so you don't need any money at all. What are they likely to say to that? Does anybody see any scenario they're likely to say, right, we don't need any money? Would anybody agree with that a school would be likely to say, you're right, we don't need any money. We're full of the gills with money. Yes? So the first line is, oh, so you guys don't need any money at all. And they're going to say, well, yeah, we would like some money. Well, how about we help you out with a donation? So that's the next thing you say. How about we help you out with a donation? Now, they think at this point, you'd be writing them $1 million check or something. Don't worry about that. How about we help you out with a donation? They're going to say, well, that'd be great. Well, this is how we can do that. And then you show them the partner in education letter. The partner in education letter is on the website. Now, that's just a starting point. This is a menu of things that you could do for them. And if you've been with us a little while, you've heard about the charity flyer or after school enrichment programs, which you could do virtually, or a whole variety of things we can do that can raise money for the school, or can just be services for the school that we donate. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can do. When you get the opening that, yes, we can donate to the school, here's a bunch of ways we can do that. Okay, that allows you to have the conversation with them. Okay, is anybody done anything with the schools or currently doing anything with the schools right now? No, you guys could probably all be off mute right now because we don't have that many people on the call. They're all on the other call. Okay, has anybody tried recently and had some things not work well? Anybody tried this semester, like in the fall?
We've tried with one, and the events. I think I spoke with you right before that event. It ended up not being an open house like we expected. We had to. They were just in line to pick up instruments and Chromebooks, so we had to try to get people while they were in line and waiting, and that was quite a bit tougher because we did get a lot more like, "Why are you bothering us?" While they're there with their kids and their family, or they're talking to school friends or whatever. What did you do at that event? So we had a booth set up initially, thinking that it was more of an open house.
Uh-huh.
And because it was just a line to get stuff, we left the booth and just started going around with our little iPad prize wheel and offering people a chance to win for 3 months or a T-shirt or whatever. And so that we'd collect information and get them right in.
Yeah, I retract the mute thing. Maybe we should only mute when talking because that's where we're getting feedback. Sorry about that, Eric.
No,
So,
that's right.
yeah, if you go to a line and start injecting yourself in the line, that can be very productive, but it's also when they can start being pissed off.
Yeah.
You know, so that's pretty normal. You know, you can do that at parades. We used to do that at parades. We had one school where there was a parade right in front of it every year, and we'd take clipboards and walk around and go, you know, stick our nose in while people are doing parades and do marketing surveys. That's another one you can do in big events like that. Hey, do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? We're just doing a quick marketing survey for Karate for Kids. And they go, well, okay. Or they say, screw you. And you, okay. And you go to the next one. And you got to have a little bit of thick skin. I wouldn't do that at a school because I'm trying to keep a good relationship. So I don't really, in a parade, I don't care if half the people say, you know, get lost. So, you know, it kind of depends on what you're trying to accomplish. In this case, though, with a booth like that, I would just keep on trucking with the booth and then see if you can get people to come over. I wouldn't try to go into the line. I would see if I could go there and then see if I could get them to come over to my booth.
Sure.
You know, come on over. That might be a little softer. I would say that was a success. I don't know if you got anybody, but I would still say I would do that and then see if you could schedule the next one. When you were there, did you try to schedule something else with the school?
We didn't necessarily have permission to be there. It was more of a ask for forgiveness situation. And I used the donation as sort of our fallback option. That's the only reason we were allowed to stay there.
Okay, so you were there. Did you talk to the school people, the administrators, or any of the people?
I talked to the vice principal.
Okay, what did he say? Was he pissed at you or was he nice?
Nope. As soon as we mentioned that we wanted to do a fundraiser and that we've worked with that school in the past, then they just said, okay, well, they needed some information for COVID contact testing just in case. And that was kind of the end of it. Then
okay, so he was nice. And the next line might have been, if you had to do it over again. That's your cue. What would you have said if you had to do it over again, based on what I was just saying? What would you maybe have said?
I would have probably asked if we could set up another event in a way to give back money or raise donations or something for the school.
Yeah, how about we do something to donate more to the school? Oh, you guys would do that? Yeah, let me show you how we do that. And then you have a list of things that you can do for the school. See, here's the thing that happens with schools. Very frequently we get asked, how do we get into schools? And what the question implies is there's like one magic thing. You know, what's the magic thing that will allow us to get into schools? And if you just teach us that, then we can just take that thing and go there. And I've taught, when I was teaching a lot of stuff for the ATA, I developed their bullying prevention program. And one of the things I taught everybody was, it's a very, very good program. It's like the best one. I did a whole bunch. That's what I did all my doctoral dissertation work on. So it's a great program. The problem with it is I would teach it and these guys would run off going to the school saying, hey, we'll do a bullying prevention program. Well, you know, like maybe 5% of the schools thought that was a good idea. The other 95% didn't want to do it. So what you need is a menu of things so that one school wants that, another school would like you to do a booth at their event, another school might want an after-school enrichment program, another school might let you do the charity flyer, which, by the way, every school could let you do, even right now during coronavirus. So there are 0 schools that you don't have something they can do right now. The coronavirus makes no difference for the charity flyer. The charity flyer is you give them a flyer they give to everybody, and when kids come into the school and they pay $49, that money goes back to the school. The school has to do nothing but hand out the flyers. There's no social distancing issue. There's no nothing. So there's nothing they have to do. The money can be for the PTO. The money can be for the school. The money can be for the PE program, whatever you want. You just have to get them to agree to it. And so you've got to have a menu of things. And when I say that, it's like going to we get asked this, how to get into the schools, and people want to have this one thing. And it would be like if you wanted to open a restaurant and say, what's the best thing to serve there? And all you were going to serve was tacos, chicken tacos. And you only had one kind of taco and it could only be prepared a certain way. That restaurant wouldn't last very long, right? You know, it'd be a weird restaurant. Maybe there's a restaurant like that, but I mean, In-N-Out Burger, they have a couple different things, but you got to have more than one thing at the restaurant. So you guys have to be that way, and you have to be willing to be open to exploring what they do. Now, everybody should have on their list a couple more things. Look up on the school's website. You should all have a list of all the schools in your area and what websites that in their websites. And you should have a list of, and I think I've posted the school information sheet, and it's got kind of a fill in the blanks of every school of everything you could want to know about a school, and fill those blanks in. So you have all the information that you could want about the elementary schools in your area, and then figure out which are the most important ones to hit first. Almost all of the schools will have their PTO meetings published on the websites. And if they don't, you simply call the school and say, hey, when's your next PTO meeting? And has anybody here gone to a PTO meeting? Okay, Mindy's gone to a PTO meeting. What'd you go to a PTO meeting for, Mindy?
I went because we were doing some local promotions and trying
And
to.
did they kick you out, or did they let you do them?
Oh no, they were totally excited that we wanted to be out there and supporting the school.
So between me and all my guys, we've probably gone to 200 PTO meetings or more. And one time we were told, hey, we don't want to listen to you. And almost every other time, probably 98% of the time, we got them to do something. Now, was it the best thing we wanted? It might not have been an after-school enrichment program. It might not have been something fancy. It might have just been the charity flyer. It might have been we were coming to their event. It might have been helping them out at something. But in 98% of the time, you're going to get them to do something. You just show up. You don't call them and go, you know what? I'd really like to come to your event. Do you think it's okay? Can I get permission? Well, now you're implying that there has to be a committee meeting, whether you're going to show up or not. But Mindy, did you have permission when you went, or did you just go?
No, we just went. We just wanted to support the school and had some ideas on what we might be able to do to help them, but wanted to hear from them. And they were super excited to have some help and support from the community.
Yeah.
And I was actually representing a faith-based organization, which you would think would make them go, no, but they were actually really great with it. It was like, oh,
Think
wow.
about that. Think about that. That would be something that a lot of times a PTO would be like, no, we're going to get in trouble because we're dealing with a faith-based organization. You
Yeah.
guys are a lot less controversial than that. You know, they could get in trouble. You can see one person. Yeah, right, Mindy? I mean, one person on the PTO could go, well, we better not do anything with them because this group's going to be mad at us.
Right, exactly.
You guys don't have that problem. So there's no reason. I mean, right now you can go to any PTO and get a lot of coverage that way, have a lot of success. So we're kind of running out of time. I got about 8 more minutes. I feel like I've been talking a lot. Hopefully that's been relevant for you. But I think we've got a few more things you can add on your list. Your goal is 20 or 25 or 30. If you really want to grow your school, that's the number of things. There's no excuse. I don't have time. 8 in the morning to 3 or 4 should be your marketing time. That's not an excuse. You don't have that one. There's not an excuse you don't know what to do, because we've got a lot of stuff. We can always help you with it. If you need extra time, we can help you with what to do. There's not a reason. You've got a lot of examples of people that are flooding their schools. Leo Sanchez, we just talked to him. He had 40 members this month. He was on the other call. And that's not by spending a ton of money. That's by doing basically these things. So there's not really any reason not to have some of the success. And please ask questions if you're getting stuck. We want to help you if you get stuck with these things with schools. Hopefully that helped you, Aaron. And maybe next time you can learn to not get unstuck. And look, you might do the event. It may not work.
Right.
You know, that's okay. Then you figure out how to do it better next time. The more events you do, the more things you do, the more activities you do, then you can narrow it down and figure out how to do it right. Okay, we got a few more minutes. What other questions you guys have?
Dr. Moody, got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Doing the charity, using the charity flyers, would you believe that doing a local charity as a benefactor would be more beneficial than doing a more national or something? In other words, something that would like a
Yeah.
local food bank versus the Red Cross.
Sure.
type of thing.
So there's two kinds of ways to use this. Good question. There's a couple ways to use this. So if I'm talking to a school, typically the charity's their PTO, right? So the charity is going to be the PTO, the PE program, something about the school. But yes, what Jeff is bringing up is a really good point. The charity could be, you can take this charity fire concept much bigger, and I recommend you do. For example, you could, I'm going to directly answer your question in a second, but let's say you pick out a charity and you want to bring these flyers to all the businesses in your community. So you could take flyers. One of the charities that we did a big promotion with was one of my instructors loved, her father was in the military, and he loved, what was it? Angels. It was a while ago when we did this one. I don't know. It was something that said Angels, but it was a military support group. Maybe you guys know it, but we didn't do this one lately, but we got like 40,000 flyers out on this one, just around 2 of the schools, because she loved this program so much and she was really excited about it. So she got all these flyers out. That was because she liked it. So she picked that one because she liked it, but it was to businesses and organizations in the area and also in the military base that was nearby that school. So to answer your question directly, if it depends on who you're dealing with. If I'm dealing with a PTO, it's probably going to be the charity I'm supporting as a PTO. If I'm dealing with businesses and I just want to go down out the corner to the strip mall across the street and to my own strip mall, and I want to incentivize them to allow me to put flyers at their business or hand out flyers or put flyers in the garbage bags, in the grocery bags, you can get big supermarkets to put flyers in grocery bags. If you just talk directly to their manager, if it's a charity that maybe you've investigated and that they like. Okay, so it might be one that you just like, and that's going to motivate you to go get more flyers out. So I'm giving you a little bit of a broad answer to the question, Jeff. If I know that I want to get flyers into, I don't know, if Apple was next door to my school, I would want to find out what charities Apple likes. I don't know. I don't know. But I would want it to be raising money for their charity. If it was a school, it'd probably be for them. If it's just general, maybe pick something that you really like, because you're going to be more likely to go get those flyers out. Does that make sense? That good? You're muted,
Yes.
so I can't tell.
So I've done it both ways and found years ago we did this with when after post hurricane, and so the destruction of the hurricane, we helped raise money for the American Red Cross in that area. Then there's other times where we perhaps helped out with a local charity, maybe Autism Speaks, but the local chapter
Sure.
type of thing, and found that related better to the people than the more broader sense or the larger group.
Yeah, I think the big thing is it's going to depend on whether or not you can communicate the value of that charity. If you did Autism Speaks and it was 15 years ago, nobody would know what autism is, right? So you go, hey, I want to help kids with autism. And they're like, I don't know what that means. But nowadays, it would be more, I'm only using that as an example in terms of relevance. Let's use the Red Cross example. When we raised $25,000 when Katrina hit, when 9/11 happened, we raised $48,000.
Wow.
Okay, so those are national and relevant, and we raised a lot of money. By the way, we made tons of money that month in the school because we also did a cross promotion. If anybody upgraded or moved up a level in their program, they could put $250 towards the charity for Katrina or 9/11, and we matched it towards their upgrade too. So it was very profitable and financially good for our school too. I mean, I'm not trying to take advantage of the bad thing that happened, but it was also, I mean, we had to have the instructors have a value. We always want the charity thing to be for a value in your school. One thing I'll caution you on this is we get you kind of involved in this charity thing. A couple of my buddies did a whole bunch of charity work, right? They got 10,000 people in one promotion, 10,000 people in another promotion to participate in these charity events they had. And my question is, well, how many members did you enroll? Oh, well, I don't know about that. And then they start talking about it. Well, it's got to have a business outcome. So this charity flyer is obviously a very specific business outcome. Make sure that anything you do along this line with this charity related has a very specific business outcome. And obviously this one forces it to, because no money's generated unless that person comes into the school for the charity. But the beauty of this flyer is so awesome. 100% of the money goes to the charity.
Right.
And it's inarguable that you're being a great person. Now, you should enroll 90% of those people. So you're making you have a good financial incentive here, but it doesn't mean that you're not still being a fantastic person for giving 100% of that initial money that they pay to the charity.
And during this time, when it's hard to get into some of the schools because they don't want people going into the schools physically, this offers a great opportunity, because if you can get this most likely approved by the superintendent, because it is for a charity, then you got people coming in your door. So that's a good thing.
Well, and be careful about going top down. You want to go bottom up when you get approval from schools. Just go right to the PTO, say, hey, we want to do this. That sounds great. Yes, go. If they pull the superintendent card, in almost every case, when they say the superintendent has to approve, it's BS. In almost every, I've actually never had it be the truth. I've never heard of it in my area, and this is my area, meaning 10 school districts that I've dealt with here in Phoenix. And our school districts were told to me by somebody who does things nationally as the worst districts in the country for fraud and all kinds of other stuff. So they're the most restrictive districts in the country where I live. And I've had to deal with like at least 10 of them, probably more. So nobody can tell me about this. And there's almost never actually the superintendent or the district that has to approve. Sometimes the district will do a quick approval, like there has to be a phrase at the bottom saying the district isn't responsible for whatever, that kind of stuff can happen. But you're almost always better going bottom up, going to the teachers, the PTO, the PE teacher, those kind of people, maybe the principal, those kind of people, and talking to those people, than trying to like go to the district and get some blessing from the gods. Then that takes a long time and is very cumbersome. Now, we've gotten approvals from those guys before, but you'll get better approvals from those guys if these guys love you. Okay? So whenever anybody says to me, oh, yeah, but the district has to approve, you know what? Most of the time the principal says that because they don't want to have to deal with you. So figure out how you want the principal to deal with you first. Okay? All right. Any last things? We kind of out of time now. Any last things to wrap up? Go ahead, Jeff. Your audio is, oh, I do think you just said thanks. Okay, hopefully that was it. Because your audio was choppy there. If you have anything else to ask or use, get on the Facebook group. What I'd love to see you guys do is make your plan for your 25 to 30 things for October. Post it on the Facebook group. Let us give you some feedback. Here's something I'm going to tell you guys that are last on the call. The schools that are going to explode and do great are going to do these things, are going to post on the Facebook group the marketing plan that they have. The schools that are going to explode and kick some butt are going to do that. The schools that are going to have a lot of success are going to kind of put their neck on the line and show us what the answer is so that we can give you some feedback on it. And that's what we help with. I invite you to do that. So for anybody who I can't see your video on, you guys do that too. That's what's going to get you the fastest results is do stuff. Maybe it doesn't work. Let us help you fix it. Do stuff. Maybe it doesn't work. Let us help you fix it. That's how you get better, faster, better, faster, better, faster, better, faster. That's the best way to get there. And really, it should only take you a short amount of time to get there. And we're really excited about having you do that. Okay, we're going to have our meeting next week, and we look forward to seeing you then. And in the meantime, kick some butt and get ready for a big start in October.